and you want to make sure you get your contact information in the chat room, because the event happens monthly, but all of the work happens on the networking in between the events. And that's why we want to make sure that you all put that information there so we can continue that networking and the connections that we can form and building relationships in between. Okay. So without further ado, I have the privilege of being able to introduce our guest speaker today. And, I got to know this gentleman as an incredible business consultant anyway. But it's so important that as you're building relationships and you become closer and closer, you get to really just kind of hang out and get to know each other beyond just the professional side. And he's just got just such a wonderful personality and a way of coming across and talking to you. And then as I got to know a little bit more about Martin, I realized that there's so much the rest of the story, and we get to find that out today. So let me tell you a little bit more about Martin before he gets ready to speak to us, because he has founded and leads a successful national executive coaching, business consulting, and strategic facilitation practice, guiding executives, boards, and firms in the for-profit and not-for-profit arenas. Now, he's been working with individuals, teams, boards, law firms, and companies for over 3 decades now to help guide them through transitions. And are we not going through transitions right now? It's been a roller coaster type transitions, right? Some of the meaningful arenas of his practice is helping executives, trainings for boards and directors, facilitating and guiding strategic planning retreats. And in his hometown of Sarasota, I'm already jealous. In his hometown of Sarasota, he has led retreats for the Sarasota County Bar Association, Teen Court, Community Foundation of Sarasota County, the Sarasota Housing Authority, the College of Journalism, and the University of Florida, and the city of Sarasota. Martin received a BA in Mathematics and Economics from Ohio Wesleyan University and his MBA from the University of Michigan. He was admitted to the National Mathematics Honor Society, Pi Mu Epsilon, and the National Economics Honor Society, Omicron Delta Epsilon. So I tell you what, there is the rest of the story for this awesome gentleman. Martin, good morning, sir. Thank you so very much for being here with us. How are you today?
I'm well, and thank you. It's nice to virtually meet all of you. And I do appreciate you coming out at this hour of the morning and making the assumption that something I say will be of use to you, which I trust it will, but I hope you find some practical tools to take away with you.
Well, absolutely. And one of the key words of many, as I was reading your short bio there, was transition, right? And my goodness, that's pretty much probably the word of the day here would be transition, because as we were kind of chatting before everyone chimed in on the call in the Zoom room today, as much as things are to a degree, Martin, going towards a positive, you would think, right? We're having some of these regulations and rules and so forth are being relaxed a little bit. It's amazing how stress is actually kind of going up in so many different ways, as opposed to, you would think just on the surface it would just come down. Talk to us a little bit about stress and anxiety and just what it is, and what are the causes, especially today, sir?
Well, the causes haven't changed much, and I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you here believe in time travel? Anyone who might believe in it, raise their hand. And believe me, this is not going to get too ethereal. But the cause for anxiety is time travel. And what do I mean by that? We create anxiety when we live in the future and expect the worst to happen. If your boss comes to you or someone you work with comes to you and says, listen, we have to get together on Wednesday, you're probably going to ruminate on that and think about it and think about, oh my God, what could happen? What did I do wrong? All those things. And it's going to create anxiety. If that same person came to you and say, hey, listen, things are going great. I'd like to talk to you about a raise. Let's get together on Wednesday. There'll be excitement, but there won't be anxiety because you're not projecting into the future and expecting the worst. So remember, we want to live in the present. We want to be prepared. We can be prepared for the unexpected, but there are no ways we can make plans for the unknown.
Now that's, Marty, I don't want to interrupt you, but I need you to repeat
Please.
that. Please repeat that. That was gold.
We can be prepared for the unexpected, but it's impossible to make plans for the unknown. So we will all at different points during our day, during our week, during our month, during our year, need to pivot. And the most successful businesses and the best executives feel comfortable with pivoting. And part of what that means is leaning a bit into your vulnerabilities. It's not, I am always right, and so I'm unable to change this because it would mean I was wrong. But being able to lean into your vulnerability makes one a better leader and also allows one the opportunity in the psychic space to make better choices. So anxiety is stress plus rumination equals anxiety. We're all going to have stress in our lives, and we're all going to have stress in our jobs. Usually we get paid for the things we don't like doing, not the things we love coming to work to do. So how many of you have stress-free days every day? How many of you ruminate on things and get thoughts in your head and think about them during the day? Well, that creates stress. And actually what stress does, it raises the cortisol. It has a physical response. It raises the cortisol level in your body, which activates a part of our brain, I'll just do this real quickly, called the amygdala. The amygdala is a little chestnut-sized gland in the back of our brain, left over from the time we were Neanderthals. And if people have heard of the flight or fight reflex, when our stress gets up, when we get nervous, whatever, our body goes into flight or fight. Our body needs to decide, are we going to fight? Or are we going to run? Because that's our way of surviving. So what it does is it takes blood away from our organs that aren't vital to that. And what is one of those organs? The brain, the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of our brain where decision is making. So we become hijacked by that amygdala. I like to say our brain gets hijacked. And once it's hijacked, we're unable to make rational decisions. So immediately, what is one of the first things to do to ransom back your rational thinking from your amygdala? Take 3 deep breaths. Mm-hmm. That's all. Mm-hmm. In through your nose, out through your mouth, 3 times. And we can apply a methodology that's common known as STOP, S-T-O-P. And that is an acronym. And what's it an acronym for? When you feel your breathing getting shorter, when you start to get stressed out, when you begin to doubt yourself, the first thing you do is just stop. Take a pause, stop. The second thing you do is just take a really deep breath, and make sure it comes out longer than it comes in for 2, out for 4. Why is that? There's actually a physiological reason for it. When we breathe in, our heart starts to beat faster. When we breathe out, our heart starts to beat slower. And when we feel stress, we want to calm everything down and be present. So we take a deep breath. And once we've done that, we can or observe. We can observe and say to ourselves, why am I feeling this way? And once I'm able to put my fingers on the emotion, on the feelings, because remember, stress is a feeling. So once we know what we're feeling, then we can proceed and do what we want to do. So stress plus anxiety, stress plus rumination equals anxiety. We all have stress in our life. It's going to be there.
Hey, Marty.
Yes.
I want to ask you, something tells me I can't be the only one on this call that feels this way, but I believe that's the STOP, the acronym. I think that was invented by a mom. I really do. And let's see, look at all of the moms just smiling there, right? I really do, because it seems to me that it would take that type of fortitude, right, to be able to stop, because my goodness, when you have little ones, you absolutely have to pause, don't you? And kind of gather yourself to a degree. I know there's plenty of us, and of course dads as well, plenty of us, that was the first thing that came to my mind. But one thing that I absolutely am seeing is that just because it's there doesn't mean we have to invite it in. So in other words, just because it's at the front door, you don't have to open it up and invite it in. So there are things that you can do to help minimize it, but I'm sure you would agree, right? It doesn't just go away.
No,
right?
Stress is going to be there. But what we're talking about, how can we manage stress? And what techniques can we use that will minimize the detrimental parts of it?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing is learning to make decisions out of confidence, not out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
We have to believe in ourselves, and we have to make choices out of confidence, not out of fear. If we make a choice out of confidence, it may not always turn out the way we want, but one of the things I could probably guarantee you is over time, you will open more doors than you close.
Mm-hmm.
When we make decisions out of fear, we end up closing doors, and eventually we'll run out of choices. And I don't know anyone that doesn't feel better when they feel like they have choices in their life. I certainly do.
Absolutely.
So we want to treat ourselves with confidence and look at the universe as a place not of scarcity, but of plenty.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone on this call, for each person, probably where's the best if you're a small business owner, where do you want to invest? You want to invest in yourself. You want to create opportunities. You know, in the beginning, Eddie was talking about change. There is always going to be change. There are only two states in nature. One of those states is decay, and one of them is growth. If we try to just stay where we are, we're going to decay because people will be passing by us. So we either grow or we decay. And with growth comes choice. With growth comes power because you feel empowered. With growth comes confidence. So another way to manage stress is, one, to know what success looks like to you. What does success mean and look like to you? Define it, articulate it.
What a question. What
yeah.
a question. I love that.
In order to, another way to deal with stress is to have priorities. Because how many of you, like me, have had those days where we just feel like we're on that hamster wheel? Going around and around and around, feeling behind and never feeling like we get caught up. Well, that's because we don't have priorities. And if everything is of equal import, then we don't know what our priorities are. If we don't know what our priorities are, how are we going to know what we should be doing first? And that's going to cause us stress. Priorities are preceded by values. Our values should lead our priorities. If we don't know our values, there's no way we can organically come up with our priorities. And two things I ask you to remember, okay? One, don't let someone else's poor planning create your emergency. Someone else's poor planning shouldn't create your emergency. And the other thing is, let's try to delineate between urgent and important. How many times during the day do we say, whoa, I've got to get this done right away? It's really not that important. And instead, two things that are really important that could make a meaningful difference in our business, in our life, in our path to success, get put on the back burner. So let's delineate between urgent and important.
Marty, I got to share something, or actually just point out an observation. When you ask that powerful question that we all need to ask for ourselves, what does success look like to you? You know, those last two words, to you, it wasn't just what does it look like, it's what does it look like to you, which is so very important, because I think a lot of times, especially when we're talking about in the workplace or as a small business owner, one business owner to another that might be in a related industry or field or what have you, we tend to compare ourselves with others. and whatever level they might be on, right? Their level of success. Well, my goodness, they've been doing this only 3 years, and I've been doing this for 10, right? And I don't understand why they're at the level that they are at or where I am in that sense. And that's what really struck me when you said, what does success look like to you? And when you talk about it, I drew it all in together in don't let someone else's poor planning create your emergency. Well, I don't know about you all. You know, when you go to certain places to hear certain things and you're like, that's the reason I was here today. That's what I needed to hear right there. Don't let someone else's poor planning create your emergency. So we end up jumping at something that is urgent, but in the grand scheme of things isn't the most important, which means the priorities are all out of whack and it suffers. And it goes right back to we're stressing now because we're behind, we're not fulfilling our goals, so forth, and what have you. So when you talk about delineating between urgency and importance, that might be easier said than done. Is anybody else understanding what I'm saying here, or maybe relating to this? Because what's important and what's urgent, sometimes they get blurred. The same thing that stress and anxiety does. It gets blurred sometimes, and they look and feel to a degree, they just get lumped in there together. And maybe someone, and I want to go ahead as we're getting where we are here now in our talk, I want to open this up, and everyone, please feel free, come on off of mute. And because I know with all the experience we have in this Zoom room today, that many of you can chime in on all of this also as well. But Marty, how do you immediately, what are some tools to be able to help us delineate from between urgency and importance?
Well, the first thing we need to do is understand where we want to go and where we want to be. In our day, things may happen that we feel like we have to deal with right away. But as far as really having an impact and moving us towards where we want to go, they're not that important. Let me give you an example between making a decision and a choice, which sometimes causes people a lot of stress. And we might say to each other, by the way, you can all go off mute, because if you want to ask me questions and interrupt while we're doing this, that's fine with me. I love the interchange and exchange. There is a difference between a decision and a choice. When we make decisions, it's going to have an impact. When we make a choice, it really doesn't matter. So for instance, let's take Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs went to work every day wearing the same thing, black shirt, black pants, right? Why did he do that? Because what he chose to wear wasn't going to make a difference in how successful he was or wasn't. So why take up mental space and effort over that? When you all work in an office and it's time to paint your office, oh my God, what color am I going to make it? Blah, blah, blah. Well, if we look at it like, I just want to feel comfortable in it, because quite frankly, the color of my office is not going to make or break my business. It's probably not even going to make a difference. So in terms of moving towards your success, you may as well flip a coin. Am I going to make a dark blue or a light blue?
Yeah, that's it.
So decisions versus choice are one of the ways, and the only way we can differentiate between important and urgent without being important is know our priorities.
Mm-hmm.
and our values. Know our priorities and our values. Look, when we decide where to focus our attention, which is a whole nother thing, because we're really in the attention economy where everyone is fighting for attention. Social media, TV, everything. And we have to be very intentional about our attention. So control where you put it. When you control where you put it, when you make a conscious choice, then you know what? You will find you're experiencing less stress.
You know, Marty, so many things come down to mindset and just the frame of mind we are in when we make whatever decision or whatever choices are being made and how impactful they are. I want to go back to my first page of notes because I've got a couple here. And one thing I got out of this also as well was self-inflicted stress. You talked about time travel. I just love that, the way you put that out there, because no one was thinking about it in that sense of who believes in time travel, but apparently we do. And we practice it on a regular basis, right? Especially when you put it that way. But that lets me know that a lot of stress is self-inflicted. Now, I'll give you an example. How do we talk about Monday mornings? How do we talk about Monday in general? How many people do you know of that basically are, wow, I can't wait till Monday? No, in fact, Mondays are the brunt of all of the jokes. Well, you know, it must be Monday, right? As a matter of fact, studies have been shown that people start dreading Monday on Sunday evening.
I say all the time, this is my third Monday this week.
There you go. And so I guess I bring that up to say, in that sense, I'm calling that self-inflicted, based on what you're telling us, self-inflicted stress, right? Because we're already anticipating the negative as opposed to embracing the challenge that might be there. Which means within that challenge, there's opportunity to grow, like you mentioned also as well, because with growth comes power. And you don't get to grow unless you hit a lot of these challenges head on, as opposed to ducking and dodging or going around them or not even dealing with them or not prioritizing them. What say you to that, Marty?
Well, let's talk about, along with that, a few very practical tools you can use, right? I'm going to ask you all a question, and maybe one of you will be willing to answer this. I'm hoping.
Susan will. Susan's ready. She's
okay. Susan. One, when do you start your workday? What time? I can't hear her.
I double muted you, sorry. Around 6:30, 7 o'clock usually, pretty early.
Okay, is that when you get to the office?
I'm work from home, so I put on my leggings and I come upstairs.
Okay, and you get up what time?
6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. And then what time when do you first look at your emails or?
Usually like 7:30, I'll start looking at emails.
Okay, well, that's very healthy.
Oh.
So we picked the wrong person. What do a majority of people do? They wake up in the morning, they do their morning routine, they look at their phone and they read their emails, right? They look at their emails, they look at their texts, they see what's going on, they do their morning routine, they have breakfast, they get in the car, they go to the office, and then they start dealing with that which they read 2 hours prior. Well, one, if you're not going to do something about it for 2 hours, why even look at it? Because here's what it does. We're not going to remember the good emails. We're going to remember the ones that we go, oh my God, this could be a problem. I'm going to have to deal with it. That's one.
I agree with you on that. That's something I learned really early, is that when I read an email, take care of the email. Don't keep going back to the same email over and over.
Okay, so that's one. Two, it takes away the pleasure from sitting, having breakfast, talking to your spouse, whatever it is you do, reading the paper.
Mhm.
Another thing is that it's really important to be in control of your day. What are some of the ways you can do that? Here's one of the things I recommend to my client. When your phone rings, let it ring 3 times before you pick it up. Cell phone, office phone, whatever it is, let it ring 3 times. Anyone have an idea about why that might be?
What does it give you?
To
that-
mentally
that
prepare.
time to, yeah, to
Right.
exhale, if you will, yeah.
It lets you be mentally prepared. And is the phone controlling you, or are you starting out as soon as you pick up the phone to be relaxed and in control? If that phone rings and you jump at it, that phone is really setting the tone and in control. If you just let it ring 3 times and pick it up, you'll be in a better psychological place for whatever conversation is about to happen. Very small, very easy, and I would recommend you all try that. The other thing is I worked with a very successful bank president, and he said to me over the years, what he's learned is the first thing he does every day is the thing he wants to do the least, because then he only has to do it once.
Mhm.
Everyone understand what that might mean?
Mhm.
When we have something that we're dreading doing, and we put it off, how many times a day do we think about doing it? A lot more than once, if we're all honest, me included.
Mhm.
And I call that your freedom task. Every day, first thing, get your freedom task done. Identify it. When you leave the office, before you leave the office, at night, write down the one thing you're going to do tomorrow that you really don't want to have to do. When you come in, do it. 1, you don't think about it. You don't ruminate on it. It doesn't cause you anxiety or stress during the day. 2, if you got nothing else during the day done except for that freedom task, you would probably go home feeling like you accomplished something.
Mhm.
Okay, I have something to say about that though. If we have a task that we're that stressed over, I think we need to kind of get to a point where we need to be comfortable working that task. If it's something we're going to stress over that much every day, we usually get together and work something out with that task that we are not that stressed over with it for the day. If we're going to stress over a task every single day to the point that we're that stressed over about it, we usually work out that task to the point that we're not going to be that dwelling over it every single day. I don't think we get to that point that we're that uncomfortable with a task. We always work something out to the point that we're not feeling that way every day.
Mhm.
I never get to that.
Yes,
Point, we always work something out so that we're not to that point, that we're feeling that way every single day when we're ending our day that way. We don't want to every single day.
Well, we do have tasks that we feel we want to do and don't want to do. Right? So
We do.
some
but,
we
I mean,
want to
it's
do
our
more than
daily
others.
job. Yeah, it's our daily job, and we don't want to go dwelling on it every single day, every month to the point where we're going home, well, we work from home, but going home thinking about it every day to the point where in the morning we get up dwelling about it, we go home dwelling about it. We usually work up something out that we're comfortable doing that. We work together doing that, to the point we're not, feeling that way every single day to no end.
Well, that's a very good point, because what you're talking about, it leads me to the next thing I was going to talk about. And that is having a support network. Having someone you can talk to about how you're feeling. It's very difficult for a lot of people to lean into their vulnerabilities. The best leaders show their vulnerability in an authentic way. And leaning into our vulnerabilities is actually a strength. So think about the people you know and the people you work about and what you think when they come to you and say, wow, I'm really worried I'm not going to be able to do this. Or it's not going to get done in time. I don't think you have a negative opinion of them. Kind of say, wow, that's great. Look how they're speaking with me. They're being really honest and really authentic. So yes, Ms. Judd, I would say build a network. That's very, very true. And also talk to yourself. Recognize your trigger points, your stress trigger points, and talk to yourself about them and say, hey, what's going on here? What am I really feeling? What am I really feeling? And is it real? Does history bear it out? Or am I just expecting the worst when that's not going to happen? When we say, I've got this project to get done and there's no way I can get it done in 10 weeks, 2 weeks. First thing I would say to you is, well, when's the last time you didn't accomplish something that you wanted to accomplish in a timely manner? Probably say to me, gee, I really don't remember. So I'll say to you, then have confidence. Look at what is the underlying cause of your stress.
Hey, Martin, I just wanted to ask, just as much as that is such an important point, to surround yourself with that team, to have someone that you can talk to and lean on to help you lean into your vulnerabilities. Isn't it just as important to make sure that you're staying away from those who tend to kind of feed off of the negatives, right? In other words, there's always, like in the workplace, sometimes you have negative Ned, and you have others that are kind of more towards the woe is me, as opposed to
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to eliminate as much negativity from your environment as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now understand, eliminating negativity doesn't mean not being a realist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We can say a task is challenging. We can say our goals are tough for the year. But that's different than someone saying, oh my God, we're never going to make these goals.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right.
It's we have a challenge. How can we attack that challenge and accomplish what we want to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
A few other quick tips for you. There is no such thing. Well, let me ask, how many of you multitask?
Sure.
There's no such thing as the ability to multitask. It is physiologically impossible to think about more than one task at once.
Mhm.
Most people probably lose 4 to 5 hours a week by multitasking. Because what happens? We get one task, we finish one task, or we don't finish it. We have like 10% left and we go to another one. Well, there's a residual focus drain left over from the first task we were doing. It takes us longer to start the second task. Then when we go back to the first task, we have to invest a certain amount of time to be able to get back to where we were focus-wise. So there is no such thing as multitasking. I see Chris smiling. I'm not sure why, but
Yeah, I find that it kind of you know, makes other problems when you're trying to multitask. You lose your focus isn't completely on that particular task when you're bouncing different things around in your head. So I don't think you put forth your 100% effort for that when you're actually multitasking. Kind of.
I think too, you lose your sense of accomplishment because you didn't get all three of those things done that you were multitasking on, where if you focused on just one at a time and got them done, you would have that sense of accomplishment.
Jocelyn, that's a very, very important point.
Mhm.
Very important.
And it's necessary in the business world.
Yeah. I think I am just one of the luckiest people in the world because I have Lyme disease, which causes you to have to really, really intensely focus to get things done. So it took away my ability to pretend like I could multitask. And then of course I've read it in like 3 different books, don't multitask. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's physiologically impossible. So here's another little tip. How many of you, when you're working on your computer on a project, if you get an email that comes in, it dings, or if you're on a team, you get a team messenger and it dings.
Mhm.
Well, what does that immediately do?
Rob your focus.
It steals your focus. And not only does it steal your focus, in your brain, what it actually does is you get in the habit of wanting those little dings. And why do you want them? Because it happens, you get an instant hit of dopamine in your brain. So you become addicted to it in a way. And that's why when people are used to getting likes and notifications and all that in social media, they get very depressed when they don't get what they expect to get or what they want to get. And it's because of a lack of dopamine hits.
So Marty, I just wrote down that Marty said that I can tell Melissa, stop bothering me when I'm focusing. And Marty said that I can, can I put that down? I want to stay focused here now.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine to say that because we're about 1,500 miles away from each other.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things. Turn off your email notification. Turn off that dinging noise that will distract you. When you're talking on the phone to someone, don't look at your computer at the same time. Be 100% present in whatever you are doing.
Has anyone ever literally called someone because you've been multitasking and so off of center where you need to be, and you call someone and they answer and you actually forgot who you called? Okay, me neither. So I just thought I would put that out there. Marty,
I was gonna say to that, Eddie, like, it doesn't happen on the phone, but at Fiserv, we have this, we're on Teams constantly, so it's constantly pinging in front of us. So I do sometimes send a note to someone, and then when they ping back, yes, I'm here, I can't remember why I ping them. That does happen to me occasionally. I think that's a loss of focus there. Yeah.
It happens. It absolutely does. And I tell you what, Martin, this has been great. I'm sure you all would all agree if you all would just you don't have to go off mute if you don't want, but just a thumbs up or an applause, and not just for Martin, but for each and every one of you all also chiming in and what have you. And we got to give it up for Susan, because she kicked off this discussion, y'all. She was the wrong person. Remember, so I tell you what, this has been great, and what a timely topic also as well. So Martin, thank you so very, very much.
Thank you for inviting me, Eddie. And Susan, there's always one healthy person in the bunch.
As always.
Just in the morning, maybe. Just in the morning. I don't know about that.
I don't know about
Very,
you all,
very
but
helpful information. Yes.
Thank you
This
so
is
much.
great.
And you know what? I have one more key to reducing stress. If we've had a particularly stressful day and we like to relax, sometimes it's nice to stop by the Stonehouse
That's right.
for a glass of wine with a couple of friends.
That's right.
And make sure you say hello to Laurie when you're there, and she'll treat you like kings and queens.
So in other words, you're saying step into the shoe.
Step into the shoe.
That's awesome. Listen, without further ado, I want to go ahead. Speaking of transitions, Marty, this has been great. Thank you. And what a great segue, because Brianna, I want to turn it back over to you. We have our famous wheel of fortune that we're going to spin, because we do want to give away a couple of gifts. One being the first one being the awesome toolkit that we have exclusive to our chamber, and that we give away from time to time. I know Miss Johnson, Miss Lakia, she won one of those before, and she told me she built a whole house with that one. I mean, that thing is awesome, y'all. That thing is absolutely awesome. It doesn't even have power tools in it. She said she built the whole house on that. That's how awesome it is. And then we also have a gift card that we want to give away also for our good friends at Stonehouse Urban Winery. So we want to get you to step into the shoe. So Brianna, if you wouldn't mind, let's spin the wheel and see who our winners are this morning before we leave.
All right, sounds good. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Got it.
All right, perfect. Let's see.
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
There we go. Absolutely.
I gotta come to these meetings more often, but we're going to the shoe tonight. So this is, oh wait, what did I win? I won the toolkit. Darn it, Mary Ellen.
But don't stress or have anxiety.
Oh my God. All right, and then I'll spin it one more time. Let's see who wins. Oh,
All righty
Hello,
there.
Carmen.
Carmen.
Thank you so much. I'm
Awesome.
so excited. Thank you. And great presentation, Marty. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. I appreciate all of you spending some time with me today.
Awesome.
You bet. So listen, no
Thank you,
multitasking.
Marty.
No multitasking. Everyone remember that, please. No multitasking, or we'll tell Martin and Susan on you, okay? No multitasking. Have a very productive.
That's something I have to learn.
It has to be learned, right? And last but not least, just because it's at the front door doesn't mean we have to invite it in. Stress, that is, right, Marty?
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, y'all, thanks so very, very much for all that you do. Have a very, very productive day. Make sure you tell a friend about your next customer, because we're delivering that intel, sales, marketing, good old-fashioned customer service. and just keeping it 100, ladies and gentlemen. So keep praying for our troops all around the world. God bless. And remember that small business is big business. And we'll see you next time around. Okay. God bless everyone. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Eddie.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you all.
everyone.
Have a good day,
you.
everyone.
Bye.